Hey everyone, welcome back to Linux Weekly, daily Wednesdays, where we sit back, relax, and talk about some of the fun things going on in the world of Linux and open source. I'm Vince Stone, joined by Jill Bryant, just chatting with everybody, live here on Twitch, as we do. Come join us, 3 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/Linux Gamecast. Yeah. Lots of stuff to talk about. Fender's released a music app. Linux.
It's awesome.
You know, the company Linux has released a new kernel, 6.15. They did. RISC-V. Been shown some love by a couple of big players. And on that topic, I'm going to tell you how you can get your hands on some of that RISC-V on the cheap, because you know I love a good value. I do. But up first, something I teased in the pre-show is I was updating Android. You know, I'm very old school about running ROMs. You know, once a device is getting towards end of life and the manufacturer's like, we don't really feel like supporting that. And I'm like, well, I paid a lot of money for that tablet and I would still like to use it. And it's still got a lot of power to it. And it was running, you know, an old version like Android 12 or 13. And I'm like, okay. And it just started getting to the point to where it was not very functional with modern Android apps.
Yeah.
And I upgraded it, and I told everybody I had to break out Heimdall. If you've played with ROMs way back then, that's code for like I really messed something up. And I did, but I got it working. Got it all the way up. We're running Android 15 on it. Everything's nice and smooth. But I thought I would take, you know what? This is not true. Two-factor authentication. GOG, it was fresh in my head because we talked about it on the Linux Gamecast. GOG is finally enabled two-factor authentication. And I've been using Authy ever since I went through the slog of moving away from Google Authenticator before Google Authenticator had an export option. I had to do that entire afternoon, Jill, that entire afternoon manually sitting there. And yeah, it was miserable. I'm like, never again. Authy's great. It had a desktop application. It was a snap,
Nice.
I found out that you could just run the Windows version in Wine. I would rather run a Windows version of something in Wine and install Snap, just to let you know. And it worked. It was good. But then they've had all their security problems and all that. I'm like, I need to get off Authy, get on something open source that's not going to change. And I found another one that I liked. I'm like, maybe I'll get around to it. Well, my hand was forced. I'm doing a visual. Go watch the video version of what my hand being forced looks like. Because I got the new operating system on. Of course, I had two-factor Authy set up on other devices around the house, and I go to install Authy on this thing. I launch it, and I'm like, well, this is, you know, I log in and it will sync everything, right? Not a problem. I launch the app, Jill, and it says, this Android device is not secure enough for me to run on.
Oh, no. Oh, boy.
What? I hadn't even rooted it at that point. I'm like, yeah, I have to go to Google and find like, well, this is they're enforcing something basically if it's not a blessed version of like Android and like whatever. They're trying to be more secure now or whatever. I don't know. Okay, check this out. Exporting all of your data bits from Authy. I'm like, how do I do that? And they're like, well, it's not possible unless your device is rooted.
Oh, yeah.
Fortunately, every device in this house is rooted, so I was able to go grab another tablet. But like, that was laughable and miserable. Like, can you imagine if I had not known any better and I'd only had that one device, I would have been hosed. But
yeah,
everything's working. Good news, great news. Happy to see it. Also happy to talk about getting a chance to break this guy out. This is the O6. This is that 12-core ARM beastie that I've had for a couple of months, right?
Yeah.
Big,
Sweet.
powerful ARM V9, actually. And it's got a PCI Express slot, Gen 4 by 8. And like, fun times. We've just been waiting for the software. Well, I got in the mail the other day. One of the problems with this is it comes with this plexiglass case with a really nice big spinny fan. I call this case Mr. Choppy, Jill.
Choppy.
This is Mr. Choppy because you see the case and you set it down, right?
Yeah.
And you got it
don't
set
realize
down. Well, you need to move it. what happens?
Your fingers.
Just
Yeah.
subconsciously, your brain's like, there's a nice little handle, which the fan is directly under. So anybody with an 06 is familiar with Mr. Choppy, as I like to call him. Well, this was supposed to come out in January. They have the AI PC kit, which is a
Nice.
big metalmanium case with a big, heavy milled CNC aluminum. And yeah, maybe I'll do a little video putting this guy together. I've been thinking about it, but it comes with, because it's going to cover up one of the things I was worried about. Like, the cool thing about the Orion O6 is it's affordable compared to like an Ampere. You've definitely seen the YouTuber videos of like, hey, we've got one of these running Steam. And I'm like, well, it better run Steam. That thing's like $12,000. This is more like $200 or $300. But this case, it kind of makes it look, it looks a little bit like a Mac, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit like a Mac. It certainly
does.
Yeah. Kind of like that. And, but it covers up the PCI Express hole, the by 16 slot. I'm like, well, that's not cool. But inside the case, you get an M.2 adapter. So you get a bonus thing where you can plug it in, a PCI Express M.2 adapter. You can put one on there. But it also comes with this thing I learned about called Oculink. Completely unfamiliar with that. I'm like, what is an Oculink? As I asked Google, and then like, that's an eGPU connector. So they make Oculink docks. So
I knew that
docks.
name from docks,
and
but
we've
I
seen
didn't
like
know.
Thunderbolt and but Oculink is a standard where they make docks. There's like 3 or 4 different dock makers that I gotta figure out how I want to go about doing it and whether or not it's going to work. But that's how you would connect an eGPU to it. So I'm very curious about that. Might pick one up, play with. I don't know. I shot an email out to like one of the dock makers and like, if you want to send me one, I'll take it. But I feel kind of guilty just buying one. We're like, hey, look, it works. But stay tuned for that. Coming up on Interfacing Linux, I'm going to be playing with this 06. I'm going to show you how to get FX up and running on it. We're going to see what Steam looks like on a 12-core ARM v9 system with a very not great video card, but it's the one I own, and it currently works with this, so we'll just have to grit and bear it. But more importantly, I'm going to show you how to do it. Yeah. Instead of just showing you the games running, let me show you how to get the games running. So in case you find yourself in a life or death situation where you too have to get Steam up and running on an 06 in under 30 minutes, or a bus will explode, you'll be able to do it. And I'm going to help you do that on Interfacing Linux. And a lot of people seem to be digging the video I just put out, but I'll talk more about that at the end of the show, because right now we need to talk about everybody's favorite time. And I was giving Jill a hard time at the, if you're a patron, go listen to the pre-show before we go live, before we go on Twitch. We always have a little conversation like, hey, what's going on? How you doing? And then I'm like, okay, let's go live. Because last week, Jill was like, she was like, hey, mother-in-law's here. It's great. We're running around. But I remembered last week, Jill was like, mother-in-law's coming, dude.
No.
And I'm like, oh, how's that going to work out? But apparently it's been going pretty smooth, right?
Oh, it's been wonderful. She's almost 90, and the fact that she was able to take a plane and take the Amtrak, and she's amazing. It's just awesome. So first she took a plane from Billings, Montana to Santa Barbara to visit friends, and went from Santa Barbara to Union Station on the Amtrak, where me and my husband picked her up, and she's staying with us this week. Then on the weekend, we're taking her to San Diego to be with her other son and their family. So, and
just to put a fine bow on it, when Jill says took, she doesn't mean hijacked, because in my head, Steve's mother is on this crime spree.
Yeah.
Hijacking planes, trains, and automobiles all the way there. And she like pulls into the driveway with the police chasing her.
No.
Like, hi, honey.
She was saying how so many people have been so helpful with her, because she's, was struggling a little bit because she has luggage, and it's a little heavy and hard to move. But she said everyone has just come to her help and helped her move. She even had the pilot of the plane escorting her around the terminal and the airport. So that was really cool. So I was really proud of her, and it's been a joy having her and just doing everything from today. My husband's taking her to museums. We're taking her to Disneyland on Friday. And yesterday, we went to the beach and went to the pier and walked around and had a good dinner. And then we came back here and we showed her all our YouTube channels we watch, and of course LWW. So she got to see Vin.
This is one of the things I want you to think about. Like, we can all look forward to being old and having people show us stuff that we don't really grok.
Yeah.
Okay. That's neat, dear.
No, she was impressed, but she loves the travel shows. So I've been showing her a lot of my travel vloggers. Ooh, we have some.
That's just the monitor's timed out because I didn't check all the mouse.
Monitor timed out. So we got some color bars on the screen. I'm like, uh-oh, do we have a fire? But no, all is good.
Good day. Let's go ahead and hop into it this week because I'm excited. Might not be the right word, but you remember, oh man, it's probably like close to a year ago. We talked about a digital audio workstation, a pro digital audio workstation, a commercial digital audio workstation with a Linux beta, a Linux alpha called Studio One. Yeah, from PreSonus, and you might have some PreSonus gear laying around. And I remember I did an install guide for it that still gets plenty of traffic, and it worked. It had some weirdness to it, mainly because it only worked on Wayland, and a lot of people were like, "Why isn't this working?" I'm like, "Well, you didn't read line 1. It says this only works with Wayland." They thought that, hey, maybe that's negotiable. It's not. You have to be on Wayland. So, Fender. You know Fender.
Yes.
They make guitars. That Fender.
Everyone knows that name, even people that aren't into music.
Yeah. If you listen to like classic rock, like Nirvana, the lead singer made it very popular with his Jag staying, his Fenders and stuff like that. And some people are like, wait, Nirvana isn't like, oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. They play Nirvana on the classic rock station now. You got to get used to that.
Yeah.
Why am I talking about Fender? Why am I talking about Studio One? Well, let me stick it all together and tell you about Fender Studio. Record, jam, create. Yes.
Woohoo.
And you're still wondering, I don't get it. Why are we talking about this? Well, they've made a little bit of a DAW, a digital audio workstation Lite. We're seeing it run on a mobile device, but it also runs on desktop PCs. Okay. And what it's got amp sims in it, it's got EQ, it's got some pedals, basics like reverb, compressors, all the stuff that you could plug in and just play around with, because they definitely it'll work with anything that'll plug into, a mobile phone or your Linux digital audio workstation, no matter what type of audio interface you have. And you can edit your tracks and mix stuff around and, try different effects and like do multi-layers on top of each other, like a multi-track recorder, but with a bunch of extra bonus things built in. It's packed with tools. It's got, a bunch of amps, a bunch of pedals, and you're still going, Vin, I don't get it. Why are you talking about a Fender app? I don't get it. No point. Well, if we zoom and enhance and we go to the downloads, it says Linux twice. Yay. It's available for Linux on AMD 64, which is, AMD and Intel. And it's also available for Linux on ARM 64. Pretty wild.
It's a big deal.
Digging around because I was really curious. I'm like, well, let me go ahead and try this out. I got a bit of audio stuff, got a bunch of guitars, way more guitars than I need. And maybe I can do something with it. It's a flat pack shell.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was a little surprised it's not available on flathub.org yet.
No, it's a flat pack, packaged by like Charles.
Yeah, that's what I was It's packaged by them, and they wanted, full control over it. So that makes sense. And it's still, I think in the article it said they're not quite. They're still testing. So maybe in the future it'll be available on FlatHub. I don't know.
Maybe. It made me install Flatpak because I wanted to try it out. So I installed Flatpak. And to download this little app, I only had to download 1.2 gigabytes of extra stuff because it's Flatpak.
That's good. Yeah.
The app itself's pretty small, but that's how those depths. And what I was really curious about is, does this require Wayland? And yeah, it does. This requires Wayland. Now, if you got X11 kicking around, you're on your vintage gaming rig or your vintage music production rig, you need to upgrade or just put this on an Android device. And
yeah.
I think it's got it doesn't work with jack. So it's only going to be working with Pipewire. Honestly, well, I did a bit more digging around. I did a bit more digging around with it. And this is based on top of the work that Studio One, that PreSonus did with Studio One. So this is like a pared down version of that. Oh, that's what that testing was for.
Awesome.
Neat.
Yeah.
Maybe.
This is actually, I think, a big deal, Vin, because I was thinking about it. I mean, it's kind of Guitar Hero on Linux. We're kind of getting there.
Well, it's kind of the way to, because I know anybody who's like regularly doing music production, like, well, why don't you just put Guitar X on your desktop and set that up with like Neural Rock and like have all your impulses and effects and amp sims? Like, yeah, you can do all of this with open source tools, and you've been able to do that for 20 years on Linux. But this is something somebody can just download, not worry about setting up the audio stuff, install it via a Flatpak, and click on a button and have a very basic, rudimentary experience, but a better experience than step one is, how do I install a real-time kernel? And to be perfectly honest with you, this is an app. If you get an Android device, that's where I would suggest like testing it out before you go through like any of that, because it's going to run just as well on a Android device and also an ARM device. If you get a Raspberry Pi or, a rock chip based thing, I might do something with this in the future on interfacing Linux. Remains to be seen, because that's where I have my Wayland systems with my Pipewire set up. So we'll see what we can get into. But it is a bit shocking to see Fender offering Linux software.
I know. And it just isn't aimed at music professionals, but for casual music enthusiasts like me. So
I'm just a casual music
awesome.
You're more than
I'm really into music, but I'm a casual music creator.
Enthusiast. If you're looking at this is like, you're curious. You're like,
Yeah.
There we go. There'll be a link to this in the show notes if you want to go check it out and install it. Like, it's not in FlatPub, like Jill said. So I know you got to open a terminal and you got to type in, to make sure you type in sudo. This is how little I use Flatpak. I was trying to install this without sudo. I'm like, why am I getting these errors? And I'm like, right, sudo install Flatpak now. And it's good. So go check it out. Jillybean, we got Big Linux is released 6.15. It's a new kernel. Yeah. It's at the heart of your operating system. No matter what distro you run, we all run the same kernels.
Exactly.
Different versions of it, but at the core. Yeah. It's because somebody's like, well, actually, Ven, I'm like, just calm down.
Yeah.
Calm down.
Yes. So Linus Torvalds has released Linux kernel 6.15, which has many improvements, new features, and some very important changes that are awesome, including a new Rust-based successor to the Nouveau open source driver. You don't need to
apologize for mispronouncing that horribly named project, Nouveau. Nobody looks at Nouveau and goes, that's how it's pronounced? Okay.
Yes. So yeah, the Nouveau open source driver for Nvidia GPUs, and it's actually called Nova, which has been introduced as a foundational stub. So the very beginnings of support for Nova. And something I am really excited about is better support for Intel Arc GPUs. So Intel's Xe graphics driver now supports shared virtual memory and adds device wedged event reporting for when the GPU is unresponsive. Also, Intel's Xe graphics drivers can now report GPU and VRAM temperatures for Arc GPUs using the excellent HWMon for monitoring PC hardware stats. Woohoo! That's one of my favorite things about this kernel release.
You're not supposed to get excited about stats. We've discussed this. Come on. Kernel stats, exciting.
Oh, no, this is so awesome because I haven't been able to check my temps on my Intel Arc and my Intel Arc A770, which is here on my podcasting rig. And now I can monitor its temps, playing games or rendering, just like I can with my Nvidia cards and AMD cards. So that makes me happy. So we've been waiting for that feature. And there are also file system improvements, which include faster deletion of files on exFAT file systems. Then, have you ever tried to delete like a 32 terabyte file from an exFAT and how long it takes on Linux to do that?
A 32 terabyte.
Or excuse me, I should say gigabyte, but I have tried the terabyte files that big.
I would need a 32 terabyte drive.
Yeah.
That would be an enterprise drive. So, Jill, you're going to need to give me about 16 grand.
Yes.
Up front.
Yes.
Before I'm able to try this out and see if I can format it to FAT32. I haven't had to do anything on FAT32 in like a long time. So, no, I haven't. I think the last time I formatted something with FAT32 was because, and probably a lot of you too, I had to make like a BIOS update thumb drive, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like it has to be FAT32 to put the BIOS update thing and you put it in and, you know, you draw those symbols on the floor and get ready to update the BIOS. Yeah. So this makes deleting that quicker?
Yeah, leaving it like on flash drives and whatnot. I
still don't trust flash drives. I was copying a lot to a flash drive yesterday. Let me know in the comments. When I copy a big file or even a bunch of little files, even though it says it's done copying, Joe, I don't believe
it's not done.
I let it sit there for like 3 or 4 minutes.
Me too. Yeah. Do the same. You see the little LEDs flickering, but you know you still can't trust those. You just gotta let it sit for a couple minutes.
Absolutely.
And there's also been optimizations for the ButterFS file system, which every Linux kernel release has, and that's always great, and support for hardware-wrapped encryption keys. Also, ARM and RISC-V hardware support has been expanded for embedded, industrial, and edge devices, including new device trees for Google Pixel Pro 6 and the all-winner A523 devices, and support for the Milk 5 Jupiter RISC-V ITX board. And that's a very important one. And there are also new drivers for the Apple Touch Bar on Intel MacBook Pros and Apple M1 and M2 MacBook Pros. So that's something we've needed on Linux. Support for the Touch Bar, even though, you know, Apple isn't putting out devices with those features on it anymore because they realized it wasn't necessarily loved by the community.
Well, I think we can all agree
some cool tricks.
It immediately peaked when that person ran Doom on it or Quake.
Yeah, there was that.
On that thin little line. But what Apple did with that made everyone hate it, maybe unjustifiably so, was getting rid of the function keys.
Yeah, that was it. F1,
you need
F2,
those function keys, like we're tactile creatures and like virtual function keys. Like that's a horrifying thought, isn't it? Like Alt F4, Command F4, whatever, Command Butterfly W, whatever it is on a Mac, you need to be able to hit that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We couldn't do it via hardware, but it had to be done via software. And there's also support for the Intel Killer E5000 Ethernet cards and a new Qualcomm Iris video decoder driver. The Killer E5000 is pretty significant because that's in a lot of that's on quite a few gaming motherboards because it's a high speed Ethernet is what it is, and so it's nice that that has support as well. I actually have one motherboard with the Intel Killer on it, and as we talked about last week, support for the i46 and early Pentium processors has been removed from the Linux kernel with this release, which I'm sad about, but it's understandable. The developers don't need to focus so much on optimizing for those older systems that hardly anyone is running anymore.
We got to roll it back for some of you in the audience to understand just how edgelordy killer NICs were.
Yeah.
Now there might be a chipset or something you don't think about, but this is what you used to buy.
Yes. With
a big chunky stabby K on there.
Yeah.
You poke eyes out with the Bigfoot network killer NICs from back in the day, man.
Yes. Yeah. That was cool. Yeah. It's been around for a while. I have one of those old PCI.
Network.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was a crazier time. You wonder why some of us, we look back on like, things used to be wild back in the day. It's getting kind of tame. That's like one of the reasons I'm kind of like excited about what's going on with RISC-V and ARM and the development going on there. But before we get out of here, because you talked about last week losing support for i486, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that got removed is support for 32-bit CPUs. More than 8 cores and more than 4 gigs of RAM. You remember running the PAE kernels back when you were doing 32-bit and like before 64-bit was flushed out? People were having issues with drivers, codecs, and things like that. But we were at that weird time where you would want 8 gigs of RAM or 16 gigs of RAM in the system, so you had to run a PAE. So that trick is going to be going away, but like that would be an antique machine. So I don't think that's going to hit too many people. And one thing I'm kind of excited about, at least to test, because it's going to be in the kernel proper, is SPDIF, that little optical cable you might have for your soundbar. Well, if you got a rock chip-based 3588 single board computer with the optical port on it, you're like, man, that sounds like a very weird comp. I happen to have one, so it's not weird to me. Deal with it. I'll be able to test that out when I finally get around to reviewing the ROC-V ITX Plus Mini ITX ARM motherboard. Yeah.
Very cool.
Fun times. Good to see. Love to see it. But let's go ahead and move on to our slices of pie, starting with some risky business, as you see, because everybody, 15 years. I think it was last week, RISC-V turned 15.
15, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so actually we have some great news for RISC-V. Enterprise Linux distributions have been giving the RISC-V open source instruction set architecture a lot of love this week, including RHEL, CentOS Stream, and Rocky Linux. And at Red Hat Summit, where they unveiled Red Hat Enterprise Linux 10, they announced collaboration with RISC-V focused Sci5, resulting in a RHEL 10 developer preview for RISC-V and CentOS Stream 10 with RISC-V support. This is really amazing. So for now, RHEL and CentOS Stream RISC-V support is limited to Sci5's Hi5 Premier P550 developer board, which we've talked about here on LWDW before. But we will probably see both developer previews installed on other RISC-V hardware as well, I'm sure. That's in our future. And the article that talks about this, Christine Hall over at phosphorus.com, she states, in many ways, RISC-V is the poster child of the open source hardware movement and brings to device makers many of the same advantages that Linux brought to the software industry back in the 1990s. So true, Christina, so true. Tech companies like it because, like RISC-V, because its open source license means they can design chips that exactly meet their needs without having to pay expensive licensing fees. Absolutely. And so companies using or developing RISC-V based silicon include Allwinner, Alibaba, GigaDevice, Qualcomm, and Nvidia, to name a few. And there's just so much great development right now on RISC-V. And speaking of RISC-V, Venn just did an awesome review on a nice piece of RISC-V hardware that he's going to tell you about.
Allegedly. You might have to stick around for that. The thing I saw in there, man, it's coming to Rocky Linux, which is really neat. RISC-V and RL10. Mm-hmm. It's great to see. Red Hat decided to go with 10. I thought, when they went from Red Hat 8 to Red Hat 9, I'm like, that's a bold move. And like, here they are just going from, 9 to 10.
Yeah,
I'm like,
in order. It's nice.
You crazy people.
Yeah.
Take a hint from Windows. Go from like 95 to 98 to XP to, can I get them all right? ME.
Yeah.
2000?
Forgot Windows 2K in there.
2007, 8 never existed, according to some people. Actually, 9 never existed. 10, 11, and Windows 12 will be the last version of Windows. Wait, no, they said that for Windows 10. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they did.
Rocky Linux. It's only going to work with a Star5 Vision 5 2. And like you said, and the Sci-Fi Hi-Fi Premiere. I looked up the Star5 Vision 5 2 because for whatever reason, that just sounds expensive, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yes.
You're like, that might be out of my price range. Turns out it's not bad, Joe. You can get the Vision 5 2 for $90.
Yeah.
But I want to call them on this because I'm over on Amazon and it says a 100 pack in the corner there.
Wow.
For $91. I think they might have messed up.
They might have, but maybe you could get it for that price. So everyone would go out and buy $100 worth of lots of RISC-V SBCs.
If I give them $91, do I get 100 Vision 5 RISC-V?
Yeah.
I'm tempted to just, it's like one of those things you got to spend some money to find out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. But yeah, Joe's absolutely correct. I've been playing with RISC-V and, $91 isn't too bad. But if you don't really know, or you're just kind of curious, or you might want something to play with it, $100 might be outside of your budget. So I was very excited when I was sent a very inexpensive but modern RISC-V single board computer from OrangePi called the RV2. And like I said, really good timing, 15 years of RISC-V, and it's come a long way to where you can get one of these little guys. Mm-hmm. This is the RV2 from OrangePi in my hand. For the video viewers, there's a link. Just go to Interfacing Linux. You'll find the video I made for it. 8-core single board computer for $40. For $40. Awesome. It comes with Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPIO, not one but 2 NVMe holes. It's got USB 3 on it. It is pretty decked out. But what got me excited was Ubuntu. We all know Ubuntu, Canonical. They're like, hey, we're going to release an official image for it. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to try this thing out on the desktop. Spoilers, no spoiler. I'm not going to give you spoilers. Go watch the video if you want all the little bits. But you know what I do over on Interfacing Linux? I try to review this hardware. I shake it down. I give it some speed test. I find out what the real problems are, actual real world problems, not just 100% synthetic benchmarks. But then I ran into some issues with this, but it does what it says. It's running an Ubuntu desktop on a $40 RISC-V octa-core system with, I think this one had 8 gigs of RAM in it. And of course, I get it installed to the NVMe drive. Mind you, it only works on the rear one. I don't know what the thing is. Doesn't use a ton of power. Really fascinating, but It also does AI, Jill. Have you heard about the AI?
That's awesome. Mm-hmm.
AI, and by that I mean I got it to run a large language model.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did. Oh, and I did run OpenWRT. Somebody's like thinking, hey, what about Open? Go check out the video. Go read the write-up. There's no ads on Interfacing Linux. I'm not mining your data. It'll be a pleasant experience. So I tried it with Phi 3, Mini CPM, Win 2, and Llama 3. Now, out of all of those, the only thing I had heard of before was Llama 3. This was old man Venn figuring out how to set up LLMs on a RISC-V single board computer. And I'm like, sure, that sounds like something I can figure out. And it's pretty slow, but it does it. It's like one of those things. If you've ever had like underpowered hardware that you could trick into like doing a thing, you're like, how are you even doing that? But it still pulled it off. You're rooting for it. You're like, come on.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where
I can. I think
yeah,
I can.
Man. And I asked them all the same question. This is a very generic question that I have to check for like whether or not the AI has become sentient, or barring that has a good sense of humor. I ask the LLM, if you were approached by a panhandling 7-story tall crustacean from the Paleozoic era dressed as a Girl Scout, how much money would it ask for? And for a human being, you would know the answer. You're like, hey, probably about $350.
Yeah, $350.
About $350. And it was entertaining to see what these different language models, they're all on Interfacing Linux. If you want to go read, they all took a crack at it to varying degrees of failure.
That's so cool.
And if you don't know, I'm going to try to run a Trackmania server on anything these people send me, no matter who it's from. And Box 64 added RISC-V support last year. So there you go. I got a Trackmania server up and running on it. Now, the 8 gig version that I tested, $64. The 2 gig version starts at $41, I think.
Yeah.
Why am I excited about this more than anything else is that $41 price tag. That's something I say and really shout out at the end of the video is even if you don't have a project in mind for this, it is great to see that $40 price tag for something with this much hardware packed into it, because like the original Raspberry Pi, I think like a lot of people, when it was like $35-40, I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I bought it.
Yeah, I wanted to tinker with it.
Then I played with it. This has that type of energy, Jill. At $40, a new, newish, a different low power architecture that's not ARM. You can pick one up and play with it and learn with it, and like it's really cool. I like it for the price. I like it. Don't think you're gonna be running a desktop on it though.
Yeah,
probably not. But yeah, go check out the write-up if you're interested in it, and watch the video. Maybe give it a like or subscribe. That'd be nice. Thank you. Thumbs up or down if you don't like it. I think thumbs down still exists. Oh man, you want to hear something terrifying, Joe?
Uh-oh, what then?
I tell you about my weird YouTube account where I'm constantly getting like new tests and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
I got one that doesn't show the thumbs up or thumbs down button.
Oh.
Yeah. And you notice these things when you're on your own video, right?
Yeah.
You're like,
that's weird.
Why? I made that. Why can't I, And like, nope, it was just gone. So maybe that's going to go away completely. But that's really weird. Truly helps. Even if you're watching this, that's the one signal that YouTube still relies on. So when you hear like people like begging and pleading, because I was like, overkill, give it a like, please give it a like.
Yeah.
We mean it. Like
literally.
That helps more than you can possibly imagine. And I had somebody ask in the comments about this. They were like, hey man, the $40 one is only got 2 gigs of RAM. Can I run a desktop on that? I checked it out. GNOME is only using like 600 megs at boot. So if your goal is to run a desktop, you're a desktop enthusiast, you like booting to the desktop and looking at it, go for it. You can look at that desktop for days at a time and not have to worry about anything. Now, if you try to do anything. But, in my defense, you did ask if it could run the desktop, and it is a desktop running champion.
Yes. You could put Window Maker on it and Flexbox and XFCE.
It technically has accelerated graphics, and by that I mean they're there. It's the old school type stuff of like, hey, it kind of works, which is better than nothing. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think what's also cool is that the 4 gig model is $52.99. The 8 gigabyte model is only $63.99 over at Amazon. And they have kits where you can buy the power supply with it too.
Yeah.
It's really awesome.
Pretty neat. I had more fun with it, again, just torturing it, making it scream than like I've had with like some of these more expensive boards. It was like, oh, let's see what I can make it do. And yeah, it was fun to play with. Definitely.
Oh, that's awesome. I can't wait. Actually, I have an old Orange Pi, but I want to get one of these RISC-V ones, and so they're so inexpensive. I remember one of my first Raspberry Pis, I put TensorFlow on it. Mm-hmm. And it did the job, but boy, yeah, it took a while. But the new ones run it, of course, beautifully.
It's got 2 tops of AI acceleration built into it.
Which is awesome.
It can technically do an AI. This thing is meant for like embedded industrial systems and stuff,
Yeah.
What it's designed for it's absolutely staggering overkill. Like it's way outside of like way too powerful, but it's still cheap. But it's powerful enough to where it starts making it interesting. And it's got dual gigabit Ethernet ports on it too. So and dual NVMe. Yeah, you get the regular size, the long boy, and the little stubby one.
Yeah.
Just keep in mind, you can only boot from the one on the back, the long boy, the 2280. Oh,
cool!
Crazy times. All right, I think that's going to wrap us up for this week, Joe Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you want to keep track of what we got going on. You can find all of the shows basically anywhere podcasts are made available, but keep everything organized on this archaic thing I like to call a website. We do have one of those, linuxgamecast.com. It's got all the podcast, all the video, all of the audio that you can go back and relive what we get up to and find the show notes. If you click on that and you scroll down a bit and look at that with all of our notes, all of the links, and it's easy to find the things. And while you're there, why don't you stop by that support button? See, I tricked you. Aha, that's how I got you to actually, there'll be a link in the video description. Patreon.com/LinuxGamecast. Keeping us loud, live, and independent. Like a lot of these beautiful people watching us live, doing it. We're not trying to sell you anything. We don't have any ads, ulterior motive. Well, we all got ulterior motives, but it's not to try to get you to buy something.
Yeah.
I mean, except for the really cool RV2 we just got done talking about.
Yeah.
Do what you want. But if you can kick us $1 a week, whatever you got, get access to our Discord, get the pre-super shows, and we do for Linux Gamecast. We do a little bit of pre-show. We just do the live and uncut series in podcast format. You're listening to this because these shows are, we try to keep them around 30 minutes, and they run longer or shorter, just depending. But we're usually here live for about an hour and a half every week. So if you're like, yeah, I want more of that, custom RSS feed over at Patreon. You can put it in your podcatcher. Boom, done, good to go. You get the live and uncut. You get a video version of the show that's not on YouTube, which means I'm going to be able to give you higher quality audio, video, and all the other fun bits that come along with that. And I think we got a store .Linux Gamecast where you can get stuff. Go check that out. It's great. And Jill, tell them all about the YouTube channel we have.
Yeah. So the YouTube channel is actually at LINWDW. Short for Linux WDW. LWDW was already taken. So.
It was.
Yeah.
I'm still bitter about that. And it's not somebody squatting on it. It was just somebody who made a rando account like 12 years ago and never did anything with it.
Yeah.
Like, grr. But yeah, that's where we keep all of the weekly, daily Wednesdays videos, and like they're set up like podcast on YouTube if you want to subscribe on YouTube. and give them a watch. Leave us a comment over there or on the Patreon post. And there we go. You can follow us. All of our social media stuff will be under the video. If you want to come e-stalk us, we'll come say hi or pop in our Discord. If you're a patron, Twitch sub, link that up. We're in there doing the fun stuff. And I think that's it. You feel like some bouncy music?
Yes, bouncy music to thank our patrons, including Arthurian, who's our advisor.
See, we're not even paying attention. I haven't started it yet.
I hadn't started. Well, I wanted to mention that Arthurian says, smash that bell, fam. He came up with that years ago.
Time for some credits.
Yes, thank you, Arthurian. Yes, once again, he's our advisor. And we have awesome executive producers, including Barbrandt, Scott, Atomic, 1234, our Chicago Kicks Mules level, Glorious Egg Roll, Basil, Empty, our Sea Monsters, Dirty Dean, Dementor, System T, our Death Notes, Oil of Hope, Zeno, Nova, Chad, Romeo, our Chairlings, S. Michellism, Christopher, Community Tea Time in chat, Monica in chat, and all the people in that are chatting in live on our Twitch right now.
Oh, you gorgeous, bouncy, beautiful people. Thanks for watching, tuning in. Like I said, we do it live. We'd love to have you stop by and say moo. Yeah. You can say moo or tell us your favorite soup. I'll allow either one. Until next week, everyone, plenty of time to get out there, have some fun, get up to something. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.